Good morning.
Good morning, Father.
In October of this past year, there was a big meeting in Rome called the Synod on Synodality. Lay people, priests, and bishops, and of course, Pope Francis, gathered for a month to talk, pray, and listen to one another. Why? Well, it had a lofty goal, bringing together the perspectives of Catholics from around the world to listen, to pray, and to discern a path forward for our church. Your church and my church. Now, whenever you get a meeting like this going, there will be a lot of different views and opinions, and of course, disagreements about how to move forward into the future. What is the right path? Where is the Spirit of God calling us? But what made this meeting successful was the attitude and the approach. Talking to one another can be tricky, don't you think? But if done well, we can learn a lot. So as we begin this new year, as we celebrate this feast of Epiphany, what can we learn from this meeting? Or, I would suggest, 6 very simple lessons or resolutions. And the first one is this. As you go into the new year, let go of rigid timelines. As human beings, I believe we tend to be somewhat uncomfortable with an open approach to life. It's often said that the church works slowly. Yes, it does. Because it is on God's timeline, not ours. You see, we as human beings, we want results and outcomes now, as soon as possible. Isn't that true? By this time or that time. That's how we function. But timelines are likely much too small for the Holy Spirit. Too small for growing. So, as you go into this year, be flexible, be open. In this new year, give God in your life plenty of time for God's dream for you to unfold, and your dream for you to unfold. The Holy Spirit is not in a rush. We are. So that's lesson number 1. Lesson number 2. Ask for feedback when you have to make a decision. Pope Francis made an intentional effort to ask for feedback from people all over the world. In our daily lives, it's easy to just move forward without really taking time to stop and think about how we got where we are or what direction is best. So this year, 2024, take time to stop and ask for feedback and advice when it comes to goals, next steps, directions, or decisions. Now, number 3, listen carefully. Sometimes we have no choice but to listen. Yet listening is an art. Listening to our own self, listening to God, and listening to others. It's hard to listen attentively. So many of us, every so often, including myself, we tend to listen conditionally, not attentively. We wait for the other person to finish so that we can jump in and give a response which we already have. But listening carefully sometimes means setting aside my need to respond, my need to correct, and my need to be right. Listening is a gift we can give to one another and to ourselves. Mary, Joseph, the 3 kings are wonderful examples of attentive listening. Number 4, cultivate friendships. As human beings, we are created to be in a community, in a family, not alone, but with one another. Maintaining friendships, especially with those whom you disagree, is essential for cultivating community and relationships, especially in the society in which we live, where often animosity and not friendship is cultivated. You see, friendship is all about an openness to other perspectives, openness to change, and willingness to listen and cultivate mutual respect, especially with people who disagree with you. So that's number 4. Number 5, be comfortable with change. I don't like change. We say that all the time. I don't like change. What if the church changes this teaching or that teaching, or this practice or that practice? I'm comfortable where I am. Don't change anything. I feel secure. It may not be perfect, but it's not that bad. We do fear change for one reason or another. But I would suggest this. If change is drawing you into a deeper relationship, it just might be worth the risk. When you look at the 3 kings, they embraced change. They listened to the voice in a dream, and they returned home by another way, not the same way they arrived. So as we go into this new year, embrace change as part of growing. See, Jesus preached change all the time. Change of mind, change of heart, change of living. And the final one, number 6. As you go through this year, trust that God is at work in your life. God works over time in our lives. It's not per hour, 40 hours a week job for God. Seeds are planted today or next year, and they will flourish one day. Trust in your life in the slow work of God. God, again, is not in a rush. God is in you, working in you, listening, challenging, encouraging, loving you no matter what. So this year, choose to trust more that that is true. You see, all the characters of the Christmas story, in one way or another, embraced all these attitudes that we just mentioned. So I invite you this new year to make these resolutions your resolutions. If you cannot do all of them, pick one. Start somewhere. No rush with God. So let go of rigid timelines. Be flexible. Number 2, don't be afraid to ask for feedback and advice. Number 3, listen carefully to yourself, God, and others. Number 4, cultivate your friendships with open heart and mind, especially when people disagree with you. Number 3, be comfortable with change, and you will grow. You will. And number 6, trust that God is at work in your life and in the life of the church. Happy New Year.